Hey guys, Mars Thinking here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so I've decided in the end that I am actually going to do the Extreme Super Battle Road guides as separate videos, because I recorded the first couple, and like even halfway through the video is going to be over an hour long. So obviously, you know, even with timestamps being able to help you find the stage that you need to look at the guide for, that's obviously going to be super annoying. Very, very long video, so I feel like it probably is best to break it down into stages. So I'm going to record this generic intro that I'm then going to put in front of each one of the guides, because I already recorded a lot of them, you know, expecting that I was going to put them together as one video, so they don't have their own proper intro. So most of them just start with me going, so next up this stage. So there's no proper actual video intro. So going to record this as well as an outro that I can whack on the end. And we're going to put these in front of all of the guides. So between now and the time that the stages drop, which should be Tuesday evening in the US, Wednesday morning in the UK, all of these videos should be out in time for the stages to be released, so you guys can get some advice on teams for beating those stages. So I think I mentioned it in each one of the guides I recorded already anyway, but make sure you let me know for this particular video, for this stage, what your team build is going to be down below in the comments section. And if there's any units that you think I missed out that I should have talked about, let me know that down below and we can continue the discussion down there as well. So if you do find the guide helpful, do smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's go ahead and jump in. Okay, so for the final guide we have androids. Now this is another one like the Future Saga. There's been some significant buffs to this category on JP that have not come out on global yet, but still going to be very doable on global. So it's not a huge category, especially because a lot of these units are so much better once they get their easy A's. But you know, we've had a couple of upgrades recently, and it's definitely going to be possible to make a solid team for this event. So we have the android leaders. We've got android 13 that has the 130 to HP, 170 to attack and defense. He's a solid unit. He provides support to all android category allies. He also has a medium chance to stun, so obviously that is something that is very useful in Super Battle Road. On this team, obviously because you're going to have a full android team, he will automatically transform on turn 5 and stop becoming a support unit, but turn 5 you're probably going to be on the last turn if you get to turn 5. So the stun chance is good, the support is good. He's definitely a solid choice, whether or not it's as the leader or just as a member of the team, because obviously he is one of the best link partners for Super 17, and you know, links up super well with most of the rest of the team anyway. So next up we have the MVP 17. He has HP and attack 170 and defense 130. He's getting a little bit outdated now in terms of his defense, but he lowers attack on super, which is obviously quite useful. The android team, so many units lower attack, so for a lot of people out there, most people don't care about no item runs. Your general strategy is probably going to be to use a damage reduction item on the first turn, and then you can start hitting all of the enemies with attack lowering for the 2 turns that that damage reduction is active, and then obviously the rest of the fight is then going to be a lot easier with the enemies being attack lowered. You just got to be careful about super attacks. So if you are at 77% or below HP at the start of the turn, he does get a 40% damage reduction, which is then actually pretty good. But I mean, as you can see, he doesn't have any base defense. He provides 60% defense to all allies as well as 3 key, but that's the only defense that he gets. So he is definitely looking a little bit outdated defensively. I can't wait for him to get an easy A. He's going to be absolutely crazy. But obviously on global, we did recently get the easy A for the queen herself, Android 21. Best Dragon Ball waifu, and she is now an android's category lead of 3 key and 160 across the board. So she potentially is the best leader to use, especially because she does have a lot of abilities that make her very useful on the team anyway. She heals on super attacks, so obviously a double super means double heal. She's got pretty solid stats after her easy A, which obviously get better after supering, so she's better in slot 2 or 3. You also get a little bit of extra attack and defense if you're above 80% HP, but she still puts out solid numbers below that. She lowers the enemy's attack on attack as well, so even if you can't super, she still lowers their attack, which obviously is very useful in Super Battle Road. And then from turn 4, you have a 40% chance to transform. If she transforms, you get an immediate heal because she now heals at the start of the turn. So you'll get that on the turn that she transforms, and now she lowers attack on super, so they basically just switch. If you double super now, obviously you're double lowering attack. Obviously it's nice to get a double heal if you double super, but she's going to be dealing a lot of damage in her transform state. She infinitely stacks attack. She also disables guard and gets her extra buff now when she's at 60% rather than 80, so you're more likely to be able to get that. And disables guard, while it's not the craziest ability, it does mean she can deal decent damage to AGL units without having to worry about getting crits. She also has a solid link set. I mean, she has big bad bosses, so, you know, straight away, pretty solid. So I think she probably is the best leader. With the update to the stage, I think it only offers you a friend 17 or 13, but a combination of the two definitely could be quite good if you don't want to run double 21s on the team. So next up, in terms of units to run, we obviously have the LR Super 17. He does have an Androids category lead, 4 key and 150. So it's still a decent leader skill. You get the extra key as well, which is nice. But yeah, LR Super 17, I know he's a bit of a wonky designed unit. You guys know I'm a big Super 17 fan, but the LR is... he sort of came out at a weird time. Like, he came out right before Janemba and some of these other Android buffs that we've now gotten recently. Like, he really should have had an absorption or, like, negation for Key Blast Supers, and that would have made the unit so much better. He also doesn't get damage reduction until the turn after he first gets hit. So on that turn, he's going to be really good as a tank, but on the first turn, you got to be careful that he's not getting hit too much or getting hit by a super attack. But he definitely can be very powerful. Obviously, we're seeing on JP now with the release of the 19 and 20, who work insanely well with him. He's looking like a much more solid unit, but we don't have access to some of that stuff on Global. He's still going to be very good, but I think if you only have him at like 55% or maybe 1 or 2 dupes, it might be better off using the AGL Super 17. Although obviously with the same name update you can use both. AGL Super 17 obviously can't be used as a leader, but as he gets hit he builds up his stats, so he's able to put out some pretty decent damage as well as have solid damage reduction. That does of course have to build up over time, so you know, if the first attack he takes of the entire fight is a super, then he's obviously going to be taking a bit more damage than you would like, especially after you've received a couple of normal attacks. He does start off with 40% damage reduction, which is pretty decent, and he does greatly raise defense on super, so post super attack, even on turn 1, he's going to be tanking reasonably well, and he gives target Goku allies a chance to crit, which a lot of the androids are, so obviously that's going to work out quite nicely. So obviously with the same name update you can run both of them. Because 13 links so well, you could have double 13 leads and then literally have a Super 17 and an Android 13 on both rotations, and that is something that would work out, especially like I say with the strategy of using damage reduction in the first turn and then stacking up the attack lowers. So we do have the physical LR androids as well. They also have a 4 key and 150 leader skill. This unit has not aged particularly well. So, like, their defense is not super good. They do have a built-in 30% chance to dodge as long as your HP is 66% or more. But, again, this is only a 30% chance, so you can't really rely on this. You don't want to put them in front of a load of attacks and assume that they're going to dodge them all. They do give Android allies 2 extra key and 40% attack, which is decent. And they do lower attack on both of their supers. But I feel like they are maybe a little bit of a liability. If you get the transformation, or I say the exchange into 16... when HP is 66% or less with another 2 or more Android category allies on the team, or when facing a cell. So, because this doesn't have a turn restriction, if you're going into a fresh fight at 66% or less HP, you could obviously exchange straight away. And once you actually get the exchange into 16, 16 is actually really good. Greatly raises defense on his 12 key. He's got 200% defense, has a high chance to perform a crit, launches an additional super when there is an Android/Cell Saga enemy, which I don't think there is on this stage. No, they're all the GT, like robots and bad guys from GT, so no chance of that, but very strong defensive unit, especially after super attacking. He also lowers attack on the 12 key. The 18 key does a little bit more damage, but it does sacrifice 6% HP, and you don't get the defense raise. So if you're going to bring this guy, Ideally, you're bringing the androids as like a floating support unit, and then if you do get the exchange off, you want to use this guy as a tank, you probably want to go for the 12 key super, but they could be useful. I'm really looking forward to when they get an easy A, because they dropped off so quickly, but I really like this unit, so easy A for them is going to be very good. Next up, we have the LR Perfect Cell. We talked about him in some of the videos already, because he is useful for Super Battle Road with the fact that he gets this heal when you're at 30% or less HP, transforms into Perfect Cell, gets you the heal. Again, that doesn't have a turn restriction, so if you're ending off a fight and going into the next one at 30% or less HP, he's going to transform straight away, and then that gives you the opportunity to potentially see the active skill, because you can't use it until the third turn after you transform. But then it's just one of those big damage dealing active skills. You can only do it when facing one enemy, but it can be used as a nice little finisher to take out the last enemy without having to worry about things like super attacks in slot 1. Also, people like talk a lot of smack about LR Cell. Like at one point, I don't know if it's still the case, he considered the worst Dokkan Fest exclusive LR, but he is still very good. Post super attack, his defense is solid, he does decent damage, and that heal can be a lifesaver in Super Battle Road with the free heal without having to use an item. Very, very good. So next up we have Physical LR Cell. He's another one who really needs an easy A to be able to stand up to some of the more difficult content. He is an AoE unit, and obviously he heals 10% HP when doing the AoE super as well. So that is good, but I mean, he's got 90% attack and defense. He gets extra attack per existing enemy, but no extra defense. So unfortunately, especially with like no item active, he's going to be taking a lot of damage. But if you're keeping your team, you know, protected with the items, then he definitely could still be very useful. Getting that AoE, especially if you get a crit and, you know, RNG, if you've got dupes or skill orbs, like a double super turn from him, double AoE, double heal, potentially does quite a bit of damage. You just have to be very careful with him defensively. So next up we have the Android 16 that also recently got an easy A. His easy A, he seems a little bit underwhelming. He does greatly raise defense on super, which is good. He has 100% defense, then he gets an additional 40% up to 160 per Android category ally on the team. So obviously you're a full Android team for this, so he's going to have the full buff. So his defense is pretty high. He gets an additional 16% attack each time guard is activated, and he has a high chance to guard. So I think his easy A would just be so much better overall. We talked about this with a lot of the easy A's with characters that do this, but he should have just had a guaranteed guard, because then you could rely on him to use as a tank in events like this. Whereas unfortunately, I mean, I'll probably still use him, I think, at least on my first few attempts. I like the no item run, but you're going to get those runs where you put him in slot 1 and his guard just doesn't activate and he gets absolutely destroyed, and then you have to start again. But obviously if the guard does activate, he's going to tank reasonably well. He does decent enough attack stat, and then of course after super attacking, his defense is going to be even higher. So he is going to be a very good tank as long as that guard goes off. Otherwise could be a little bit frustrating, could potentially cost you a run or two, which is not what you want, but definitely it could be a decent option for the team. Next up we have this Cell. We got the Awakening for him recently from the World Tournament. He greatly raises attack and defense on super, so his defense after supering is not too bad. He gives extreme class allies key to attack and defense 30%, so he's going to be buffing the team. Unfortunately, you only face extreme enemies throughout this whole thing, so he doesn't really get the defense debuff. Not that that's, you know, a super relevant thing anyway, really. He does have a 50% chance of launching an additional super attack when facing 2 or more enemies as well. So obviously with dupes or skill orbs, you have the potential to triple super with him, which, considering he greatly raises attack and defense, is going to make him very decent defensively and still be able to do a reasonable amount of damage for a support unit. So he definitely is a solid pick. Next up we have the 14 and 15. Now I wanted to include them. They're one of the free-to-play units that unfortunately for Global does not have an easy A yet, but they can still be useful for the team if you are running the Android 13. Because if you get them together on the same rotation before 13 is transformed, you then get to see super attacks for the whole of the rest of the fight. And obviously this is incredibly useful. Like if you're a normal player that's just using items, you don't care about how many items you use, you just want to beat the stage. Like you will need to protect them with damage reduction items because their defense is pretty terrible pre-easy A. But just knowing where the super attacks are for the whole fight can give you so much extra value. And they do lower attack on super, like a lot of units on this team will. So if you can be lucky to get them in a slot where they're only being attacked by one enemy, hit that enemy with everybody on the turn that can lower attack, And then with Ignite active, they're not going to take too much damage outside of a super. But you have to be aware their defense, like pre-EZA, is just really not very good. So you've got to be careful if you want to use them. But that extra information about the super attacks can be incredibly valuable. So next up we have the Physical Mirror. I thought I would include him. I kind of forgot all about him a little bit, but post-Awakening, he is pretty solid. He raises attack and defense infinitely. So post-Super, he's obviously slightly better defensively. In fact, sorry, he gets all of his defense on Super. So he is a slot 2 or 3 unit. He, to me, feels like a pick for this team where he's kind of like your last choice pick. If you have, you know, a pretty solid starting lineup of 5 and you just need that final 6th unit for the team, he can fulfill that role. Because he's got some of the decent links that androids will have. Android Assault, Fear and Faith, Tough as Nails, Fierce Battle. None of these other links are really going to be that relevant, although some of the cells have Kamehameha. But yeah, he can be fairly decent. If you're running a fully extreme team, then obviously he gets an extra 30% attack if the allies in the same turn are all extreme. He gets extra key with each super attack performed, so, you know, over time it's easier to super, but it won't be too bad for him anyway. And then on turn 4, if you're at 60% HP or less, he will transform into the final form mirror, and then he's just going to dish out even more damage. I think he is a solid unit. He's kind of underrated. He's not crazy good, but I think he's a pretty cool unit. He doesn't lower attack or anything, so he doesn't have a huge amount of utility for the team. But like I said, he's more of a last choice pick. And then, of course, we do have the Super Mirror from Heroes. He's probably, I think he might be one of the ones that's potentially going to get an EZA next year. But he greatly raises defense on super attack. He lowers the attack of the attacked enemy as well. So he can be okay, again, as like another last choice pick for the team. Put him in the 3rd slot. He gets his super off, raises his defense, lowers the enemy's attack. Hopefully he doesn't take too much damage back. And then, you know, he's just kind of that bench warmer last slot pick for your team. And of course, if you are really short on choices but you have these two, then they do obviously link super well together because they are essentially the same character but in different forms. So those are the top picks and honourable mentions. If we go back to quickly have a look at the team, obviously there's loads of units on here that are going to be good in the future, like the LR androids. EZA is super good. Like units like this AGL 17 and the Int Hellfighter 17, obviously the new androids that come out. Like a lot of these units get a lot better. Like the free-to-play Future 17 and 18 are really good, but don't have their EZAs on global. So these guys are... this whole team is going to be so much more powerful when we finally get this event and all this celebration that's going on at the moment on JP. So for people who don't really care too much about desperately trying to beat them all straight away, just be aware that this team gets way more powerful. And obviously even this cell that releases on the banner with Super Vegeta is a really good pick for the team, but is not yet available on global. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Okay, there you go. So that is going to conclude this guide. Make sure, like I said at the start, you let me know down below if there's a unit that I didn't talk about or you think I should have talked in more detail about, and we can discuss that further in the comments, and let me know what your team is going to look like. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.